The following is a Spirit Street production.
All right, so today, man, we were finishing up at Big 12 Media Days. I got Ryan Gilbert here on Big 12 Insiders. Basically, what we're going to talk about today is just who impressed, who looked good, who had the best comments, all that kind of stuff today on the Big 12 Insiders. We will get into this for you as we speak.
Welcome to the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show, presented by Synergy Financial Partners. Now let's go to booming North Texas, home of Studio 73. Here's your host, Brien Hanley.
All right, like I said, welcome back to the Big 12 Insiders. It's Brien Hanley with Ryan Gilbert. So, Gills, tell me a little bit as far as who you were the most impressed with. Let me just start. First off, I thought Dion, again, was incredible. I know I said that yesterday, but I thought Dion was just amazing. A lot of people didn't ask him a lot of questions about the team. They asked more questions about him, which I thought was a little tacky, but his answers
to be
were
expected.
amazing. That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But he's a bit of a polarizing figure. I mean,
Yes.
I have my feelings towards him, but it was certainly the most entertaining coach to go up on the podium over there throughout the day. Colorado's, we talked about that on our questions podcast just a minute ago, that you bring in one of your punters, and then obviously Sanders and Hunter, and so is an interesting crew excuse me, that they brought in. But
right.
It was that was certainly the most entertaining. And then I think Lance Leipold was right behind him, right? And so two just polar opposite coaches. But yeah, I thought Neil Brown was pretty funny when you didn't cover the media days last year, but I think Neil Brown went for 5, maybe 10 minutes last year, and nobody had any more questions.
Right.
And so I don't know if you noticed that at the end of his today, he was like, wow, that lasted a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Obviously, West Virginia's on the come up because they were, picked to finish last year.
Yes.
So,
well, the thing about it for me is I like Neil Brown's approach. Neil Brown basically came out and was like, look, you guys are underestimating us.
Exactly.
You guys are not taking us as serious as what you need to be taking us. We are a good football team. I like that approach out of him. Dion says it, and it's a different, obviously Neil Brown's not Dion, but Dion says that, okay, there's a different feel to it. Neil Brown comes out and says that after the season that they had, maybe he's right, Ryan. Maybe that the media need to pick them, to pick them a little bit higher. I don't personally believe that, but I definitely like his attitude about that.
Well, Brown, is most coaches, when they're on the hot seat, you're on the hot seat for a reason. You're losing and you're about to lose your job, right?
Correct.
But Brown was one of the few that turned that around and proved that he's more than capable of being a competitive head coach in this new Big 12. And so always, Chris Kleiman, covering Kansas State's always had good things to say about Neil Brown and that program. And so it's good to see them kind of turn that around and get back on the come up.
Absolutely. Another person, you mentioned Chris Kleiman. I loved his approach to it, and it was brought up a couple of different times. K-State's picked to finish second in the conference.
Barely.
0, and I mean 0 guys picked for all conference. I don't know. I'll be honest. I'm not sure there's been another time where I've seen or even heard of something that, not just in the Big 12, in any conference in general. I love his approach, and they're taking his bulletin board material, but how can that be, Ryan? What's going on there?
It makes no sense. And I think the real, I guess, answer to to the question is K-State's got a very solid group from top to bottom. Obviously, you've got some stars, Avery Johnson and Dylan Edwards, but those are at skill positions, right? So the top of the, those, there's going to be some players that have to look at the list who the, all pro or the all Big 12 quarterback, running back, wide receiver, all that was, but it's hard to crack that. If you're one of the offensive linemen like yourself, right? It's maybe a little easier to get on there. And so that kind of explains it, but you throw out those superstars in the skill positions. K-State doesn't necessarily have any big weaknesses. Maybe the offensive line is of question with how quickly they can gel together. But, from top to bottom, every position group is solid. There's, they've got guys that transferred in. They've got returners.
Right.
And so guys coming back, obviously, from last year. You've got COVID guys, the last wave of, I guess, sixth-year guys that after they redshirted. And so, it's unique, though. I think it does speak to just the balance that K-State has on its roster, because you're right. You would never see that for a team that I believe was 1 vote away from being in first, right?
Correct.
To have nobody on that first team ballot is crazy, but it speaks to kind of the depth and the balance of the entire roster.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned skill position guys. Look, saw Ollie Gordon in person. Now, a lot of people have probably seen Ollie Gordon in person or on the field, but when you get him up close out of pads, different thing. Devin Neal, same thing. Those guys are a lot bigger. Those guys are NFL running backs, Ryan.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the skill position players. To me, they were super impressive outside of pads, just being able to see them and what they looked like. Yeah, you're thinking, no wonder they can run the ball so well at Kansas and Oklahoma State. I get it now. Those guys are the real deal, and I think that's going to take them a long way this season.
Yeah, and you look at offensive linemen like yourself and
right.
quarterbacks, wide receivers, they're big dudes.
Yes.
And so they're up on the football field with those guys. And so they kind of blend in. They don't seem as big, but obviously you get up in person, see how strong they are. Okay, I can see, why this is a thing. I can't imagine being around a guy like Derrick Henry or Eddie Lacy or somebody like that up in person. And so, it gives you a nice sort of perspective when you're here. You're your feet away from them. I think we were off the elevator. Were you with us when we saw Ollie Gordon in the Bellagio? And so we saw a number of players there too. And so gives you a perspective of how the size of these players.
Absolutely. So we're going to take a quick break here. After the break, we're going to talk about a little bit about what Mike Gundy had to say at Big 12 Media Days. It definitely is going to get your attention if you haven't heard already, but we will be back after a word from our sponsor, Synergy Financial Partners.
We'll be right back after these messages from our sponsors.
At Synergy Financial Partners, the mission is to change the way Americans plan for their financial future. Synergy doesn't just offer you a financial plan. At Synergy, the goal is to help you find your best financial future. Learn more at synergyfinancial.com.
Welcome back to the show. Let's return to Studio 73.
All right, welcome back to Big 12 Insiders again. Brien, Hanley, Big B here with Ryan Gilbert. So Ryan, Mike Gundy, he basically, first off, let me just say this. I thought it was outstanding what Mike Gundy did bringing Ollie Gordon here. I thought it was an outstanding move. Face the music. Look, you can't hide. You made the mistake. It is what it is. And then Mike Gundy spoke. And he basically tried to say that it wasn't a big deal, which after he said, yeah, he could have killed somebody. I hope he knows how serious it is. And then backtracked and said, well, look, I've done it 1,000,000 times, and I'm just like, well, hold on a second. What kind of message are we trying to give out here? Is it either it is a serious thing, but then you can't say it's that serious when he comes out and says he's not punishing him at all. And the punishment that he's going to give him is by carrying the ball 50 times in a game. I just thought, what are we talking about here? To me, it made absolutely no sense.
Yeah, it's. I thought it would be something that no more questions. We'll say
Correct.
that he'll be, I wouldn't say suspended, but he'll be disciplined within the program,
right?
And keep it behind closed doors. And most coaches would take that route, and that's not necessarily taking the high road, but it's just sweep it under the rug and try to move on. And obviously there'll be some consequence one way or another, whether that's missing a game or something that we don't see. But to talk about it like that and to keep yapping might be the right word, right? He kept going and going and going. It's like, man, you're kind of laying you're laying your bed here.
I didn't understand. Yeah. Again, it was just when he came off and when he said that he could have hurt somebody, he could have killed somebody or himself. Yes, that's the right message because that's the message that needs to be sent. But then when he went into defense mode, it was just like, first of all, nobody asked him that. He came out and said that on his own. And it was just, I don't know. It rubbed me the wrong way that you're sending mixed messages when you didn't have to. Because if really, in all actuality, if that's the message you want to send, then don't bring them and just keep them at home.
Sure.
So I just thought he missed an opportunity here.
Everybody makes mistakes, right?
Correct.
But that doesn't mean it's okay to make the mistake.
That's
you got to learn from
right.
it, grow from it.
That's exactly right. So somebody that really impressed me, and again, I'm not saying that they're going to have a great season, Willie Fritz, University of Houston. He was super impressive. I've said it on multiple times on the show that he's going to get this thing turned around at Houston. He's going to get his guys in there. Anybody that's not bought in now, they'll be out the door by the end of next year, and they are going to get that thing turned around in Houston.
Sure.
He was super impressive on day 2 of Big 12 Media Day. Again.
Yeah. K-State folks are obviously very familiar with him, his past, but obviously with the success at Tulane, beating K-State recently in Manhattan. And so, obviously that program's looking on the come up. And, we talk about the bottom of the Big 12 being competitive right now. Might they be a year or two away from making a run at the top,
right.
Utah's and K-States of the league? Probably so. But to make a bowl game, that was, There's nothing that says they can't go out and make a bowl game, win 6, 7, 8 games.
Right. And that would be the thing, because I think it would be tough for them to do that. But there's nothing saying that Houston can't go out and win some games that they're not supposed to win, because I think there's going to be a lot of games that people believe that they're going to lose. You win some games you're not supposed to win. All of a sudden, you turn around and you got 6 wins and you're in a bowl game. I think that's a possibility for them. Anybody that impressed you that we haven't mentioned?
Man, it was a lot of coach speak, really. And so, Gundy didn't say anything to impress me for the most part.
Right.
But other than that, and I'm trying to think of all the teams, there's so many now, 16. But it was just, obviously there's a bunch of good kids here in Big 12, right?
There is.
A bunch of good, solid, I guess kids, adults, I hate calling them kids because they're young men, right?
They are.
So they're young men. But sometimes, maybe Ollie Gordon made a decision that, he's a kid. At the end of the day, they're still young adults, however you want to classify it as. But specifically with K-State, they've got a real good group of kids, young adults, whatever you want to say. Well mannered, well spoken. Obviously, always willing to talk to us. We got interviews with them.
Correct.
Whether that's on camera or just in passing. I saw you introducing yourself to players, right?
Yes.
And, obviously, good representatives of the league and also their schools.
Well, and that was the thing, I've mentioned this a couple of different times, that, look, I'm not a journalist. That's not my thing.
You asked a question yesterday, though.
I did.
So you're a journalist now, Big B.
That's right. I did ask a question yesterday. So I guess now I am a journalist. So I like that. That's good. I can accept it. But, I just thought, a part of media days, look, these guys are going to get asked 100 questions by people that they don't know. Every now and then they just want to have a conversation with somebody and that's kind of what I fit in. And I just asked a couple of conversations, and you could see that just on the look on their face where their guard just dropped, and that they were no longer in, okay, I've got to give coach speak. I got to give player speak. When I talked to Willie Fritz, we talked zero about the University of Houston, nothing about it. We talked about him, people that me and him both knew and thought it was great. Same thing with some of the players that I introduced myself to and got to speak with, talked about them and their past experiences, all that stuff. So
it helps when there's no camera in their face or phone recording them, right?
Exactly. And again, that was part of it. You could just see it just drop. The only person that I think that I was going to ask a question and didn't get to, Dion, I feel like Dion would have been mad if I didn't put a camera in his face. I feel like Dion wants cameras in his face. I think that's his thing. Yeah. Look, it's going to work. If it's either going to work or it's not. I know that's an easy thing to say, but the way that he does his program, how he's running his program, it's different. I don't know if we want to call it revolutionary until we see them win, but I'm just a fan of it. I'm a fan of doing things different. I'm okay with that. If it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it won't work. But I got a feeling if they're better, if they can get to 8 wins this year, Gills, that's something. That's something for Colorado, especially looking where Colorado was 2 years ago. Sure. With 1 win, and they were the laughingstock of Power 5 football. To where they could be in this conference this year, I think that would be a big deal.
It's a big year for obviously the 4 newcomers, but then the 4 schools that are in their second year in the Big 12, right? This is the time to sort of establish yourself as somebody that can, with Texas and Oklahoma gone, be a powerhouse in the Big 12 year in and year out, be competing for conference titles. And so who knows how long Dion will be around, right? But if he can get success here in his first year in the Big 12, the standard, you've got to be good though. It's year number 2. It doesn't matter that we were talking about that on or off the record. I can't remember if that was on a show, but it doesn't matter that it's your first year in the Big 12. It's your second year at the school. That's You've had time to lay the foundation and get it going. You've got your kid, right? Got to get it going. So, that same thing can be said for any of the, K-State or Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, those schools, Iowa State, show these newcomers who's boss, right?
Correct. Absolutely. So we're going to take another break here before we end this show. One word from our partners at Synergy Financial, and we will be right back.
We'll be right back after these messages from our sponsors.
At Synergy Financial Partners, the vision is to build the world's largest consumer financial education and empowerment company. Synergy doesn't just offer you a financial plan. At Synergy, the goal is to help you find your best financial future. Learn more at synergyfinancial.com.
Welcome back to the show. Let's return to Studio 73.
All right, welcome back to Big 12 Insiders. So, Gills, for me, very successful. It was exciting to be here. Look, I know a lot of times we didn't get the sound bites that maybe we were looking for. But I think for the most part, this is a necessary evil, I think, to get some familiarity with the conference, with some of the conference media. It also gets the coaches a little bit more familiar if they're with people that they're, obviously outside of their specific schools. Iowa State dealing with Iowa State guys, BYU dealing with BYU guys. It gets them more familiar with more national media types. I think that's a good thing because it can only help the conference getting out there and getting a little bit more exposure. Yeah,
Big 12 Media Days is always one step closer, and kind of the feeling that, okay, football season is very close. Once you're here at these events, that's Absolutely. When you know it's upon us. But yeah, it's a great way to meet people, and obviously that's kind of why you're wanting to get out here. Obviously, talk to players and coaches and kind of see what it's like, but more importantly, connect to some of our media members.
Absolutely. So again, thanks everybody for tuning in to Big 12 Insiders. Again, always remember to like, follow, subscribe, leave all those good comments. We appreciate you guys. We will be back with you next week. We appreciate it. Have a good one.
This has been a GoPowercat.com and Spirit Street production. Please support this show by subscribing to this YouTube channel or follow us on your favorite podcast platform.